Like, I don't even think I've even hit even close to my potential yet. So I just think there's so much left in my tank, and that's what
Sophie Cunningham just broke her silence, and what she said about Caitlin Clark has everyone talking.
Drafted. And when I got drafted, they're like, oh, what was like your signing bonus? And I'm like, signing bonus? I was like, we got a hat and a t-shirt that said WNBA draft. I'm like, oh, we got 10 million. I was like, well, welcome to the women's side.
The Indiana Fever are already making waves, and Sophie Cunningham's latest comments have only added fuel to the fire, from playing behind legends in Phoenix to teaming up with one of the most talked about rookies in WNBA history. Sophie's transition has been nothing short of dramatic. But what did she actually say about Caitlin Clark, and why is this new footage going viral now? Let's get into it. All right, let's talk about something that's been making waves in the WNBA world. Sophie Cunningham, one of the toughest non-nonsense players in the league, just made some bold comments about Caitlin Clark, and the internet is eating it up. If you haven't been paying attention, trust me, this is something you don't want to miss.
I think when it comes to who inspired me, I do think that it was my mom and my aunt, my grandma. They're just strong, powerful females who have made a huge impact on, raising other strong, powerful females in the world. And I think that was a huge inspiration. But honestly, there's just not a lot of people who are pros who were able to maybe give these girls here in the Midwest a platform. And so that's I had no one really to look up to when it came to professional basketball or professional sports here in the Midwest. And so I always just knew that I wanted to be that somebody. And so once I put my mind to something, I kind of do it.
If you know anything about Sophie Cunningham, you know she doesn't hold back.
Chip on her shoulder, and she's got that enforcer mentality that makes her both love.
But what she just said about Caitlin Clark, it wasn't trash talk, it wasn't criticism, it was something way more.
Shooters in our league, and you see that we don't really have any, there's some, but there's not a lot of traditional post players anymore. Like, everyone can shoot. And if you can't shoot, it's weird that you can't shoot. And so I think, you see, Diana Taurasi, she was able to shoot that ball from far out. Now you have Caitlin Clark shooting logo threes. And I just think, that's Steph Curry type stuff. And if the females can show that, then I don't know if it's going to be as exciting as a dunk, but we're also not done. Like, we know that. But man,
Before we dive into the specifics of what Sophie said, let's set the scene. Here's Sophie. Just joined the Indiana Fever, a team that's already buzzing because of the arrival of one of the most talked about rookies in basketball history, Caitlin Clark. And let's be real, Caitlin has been the center of attention for a while now, from breaking records in college to bringing insane viewership numbers to women's basketball. She's already a generational talent before even playing a single WNBA game. But what happens when you bring in a player like Sophie, someone who has been grinding in this league for years, waiting for her moment, a player who spent her career in Phoenix behind the legendary Diana Taurasi, knowing that as long as DT was around, she wasn't going to get the minutes she truly wanted. Sophie was patient, but let's not get it twisted. She was hungry, and now that she's with the Fever, she finally has a shot to prove just how much of a problem she can be. So when Sophie sat down for this interview, a lot of people expected her to talk about her journey, the move to Indiana, and what's next for her, and she did. But then came the part that made headlines. She was asked about Caitlin Clark, and she didn't just give the usual, "She's a great player. I'm excited to play with her" response. No, Sophie went all, and she talked about how she actually tried recruiting Caitlin Clark to Phoenix before the draft. Imagine that for a second. Sophie Cunningham was out here trying to get Caitlin on her squad, trying to build something dangerous in the desert, but obviously that didn't happen. Instead, Caitlin ended up with the Fever, and in a wild twist of fate, so did Sophie. Now here's where things get interesting. Sophie didn't just say she was happy to be playing with Caitlin, she took it a step further. She said, and I quote, "I told the people upstairs I'll be her Sabrina Carpenter. If she's Taylor Swift." That right there, that's a statement. For those who might not get the reference, Sabrina Carpenter has been closely associated with Taylor Swift, often performing as her opener during concerts and being seen as someone who perfectly complements Taylor's superstar presence. What Sophie is saying here is simple. She knows Caitlin Clark is the headliner, the mega star, the one everyone's eyes will be on, and she's totally fine with that. In fact, she's embracing it. She's ready to play that role, ready to be Caitlin's sharp-shooting, battle-hardened sidekick. And that's the part that got people talking, because let's be real, there are plenty of players in this league who would not be comfortable taking that kind of supporting role. There are plenty of veterans who might not love the idea of a rookie getting all the attention, all the camera time, all the headlines. But Sophie, she's here for it. That tells you a lot about the kind of player she is. She's not caught up in ego, she's not worried about being the face of the franchise, she just wants to win, and she believes Caitlin Clark is going to help her do that. But Sophie didn't stop there. She went on to talk about what makes Caitlin special, not just as a player, but as a person. She acknowledged the insane amount of pressure Caitlin is under, the constant spotlight, the expectations that would crush most people, and yet according to Sophie, Caitlin handles it gracefully. That's a big compliment coming from someone who has seen the ups and downs of this league, who has played with and against some of the best. This wasn't just Sophie throwing out some generic praise. This was her letting people know Caitlin Clark isn't just hype, she's the real deal, and she's ready to go to battle alongside her. Now, let's take a step back and think about what this means for the Fever. Indiana was already looking like one of the most intriguing teams heading into this season watching, and that's a game changer, because now with Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and the rest of this insane rookie class, more eyes are on the WNBA than ever before, and players like Sophie Cunningham know what that means. It means more opportunities, more money, more respect. She even made the point that some people in the league might feel some type of way about Caitlin getting all this attention, and let's be real, that's true. There are players who have been grinding in the WNBA for years, never getting the same level of exposure, and suddenly this rookie comes in, and she's everywhere. But Sophie, she sees the bigger picture. She knows this isn't just about one player, it's about lifting the entire league. That's why she's so excited to be part of this. She doesn't see Caitlin as competition, she sees her as a catalyst. And when you have that kind of mindset on a team, that's when special things happen. Now let's talk expectations, because after hearing Sophie talk, it's clear this Fever team isn't just here to compete, they're here to make a statement. Some people still see Indiana as a rebuilding team, but let's be honest, that narrative is dead. They've got a generational shooter in Caitlin Clark, they've got a dominant post presence in Aaliyah Boston, they've got an experienced battle-tested shooter in Sophie Cunningham. This team isn't just young and exciting, they're dangerous. And if you think they're just going to be a fun highlight reel team without actually winning games, you might be in for a surprise. Sophie flat out said it. She's here to help Caitlin reach her potential. She's here to be the perfect complement to her game. And when you put players together who genuinely want to see each other succeed, that's when you get something special. But let's be real, this isn't going to be easy. Caitlin is going to have growing pains. She's going to have nights where she struggles. The Fever are still a young team, and they're going to take some hits along the way. But with Sophie in her corner, with a team that believes in what they're building, man, this is going to be fun to watch. So, what do you think? Will Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark become the WNBA's deadliest shooting duo? Can Indiana make a serious run for the title this year? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more WNBA updates, hot takes, and breaking news. We're covering everything from Caitlin Clark's rise to the Fever's playoff push, so turn on those post notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next.